Hello and welcome to Plot Twisters.
This is a podcast where we take movies and twist the plot to see if we can make them better, and if not, more prehistoric.
At the moment, we're talking about teen movies from the 90s.
On this episode, Encino Man from 1992.
I'm Anders, and I'm not a geek. I'm just a unique weasel.
I'm Emma, and I just want to munch.
You know what I want to do? I want to wheeze the juice, buddy.
So today we're talking about the film Encino Man, known in the UK as California Man,
That's
if you
right.
want to get the old IMDb open. Before we get stuck into anything, I just have a quick question, if that's okay. Just a little quick. Just want to get something out of the way.
Shoot.
Why do you hate me?
What do you mean? You're my friend. I don't hate you.
Oh, right. Because you made me watch this movie, so I thought maybe.
Yeah. Did you thought I was punishing you?
Yeah, I thought this was a troll.
What are you talking about? This is a great movie. It's about a caveman who goes to high school. What's wrong with that? You didn't like it?
I didn't like it. No. I'm sorry.
Listen, before you start cave bashing this movie, caveman bash, and see before you
Cave shaming.
cave shame, just for a second, let me tell you the things that I think you should have enjoyed, at least appreciated about this movie from the vantage point of a podcast about movies from the 90s about teenagers, right? You got high school. You got popularity being important. You got a prom, I think. There's a graduation.
Yeah,
there's a prom. There's a prom.
Yeah.
You got cool 90s fashion. You got Brendan Fraser. I mean, what's not to like?
True.
This movie, that's what's not to like, this movie.
No. All those factors didn't save it.
Oh, man. I'm sorry. Please don't hate me. I'm sorry.
It's very funny because it's like, we need to give it a recap, but that's literally it. It's a guy a caveman who gets frozen in a block of ice, and he gets woken up by two high school kids.
Yeah.
And then he goes to high school.
It's a movie about a caveman who goes to high school.
Yeah.
It's a movie about teenagers who make the discovery of a lifetime.
Yeah.
And instead of calling science or the news, they dress up the caveman like a high school kid and take him to high school so that they can be cool.
Yeah. And that's it.
So that's the movie. Oh, no. Oh, also, spoiler alert at the end. There's another caveman. It's a cave woman, and it's the cave woman that got frozen at the same time as the caveman. And then they wake up, and instead of calling science, they make her wear a halter top, and and then it's like the end of the movie.
Yeah, it's a gag at the end. A major plot point is like happens in the last 30 seconds of the film.
So okay. It's clear you've never seen this movie before, right?
Let me stop you there. Can I tell you something that's even worse than that?
Yes.
This movie came out before I was alive.
Don't stop believing. Hold on to this
movie
feeling.
is older than me.
This movie's older than you. For real? Wait. What?
Yes. This movie came out in May 1992. I did not exist yet.
Shoot. Well, I was only 9, and I didn't see this movie at the time. I did see it in the 90s. I saw it a bunch of times in the 90s. All right. So we've done that. We've gotten to the point of the podcast where I felt old and bad, right? Okay.
Yep.
In that order. Cool. Well, I'll try to make you feel, like you've missed some cinematic gem. I'm going to try to prove to you by the end of this podcast that California Man, a.k.a. Encino Man, was actually a brilliant piece of
is that what this
cinema.
is going to be? This is going to be you trying to convince me that this film is good?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. All right. No, I'm open to this.
I reserve the right to
Fine.
flip-flop at any moment, but right now that's my aim. Okay. I would like to know 3 things that you liked about this movie.
Three. Okay. All right. Three things I liked about this film. It starred my second favorite Brendan Fraser. First one obviously being Gleeson.
Right.
He's in Harry Potter. He's an actor.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I really like Brendan Fraser. I don't think I'm alone in that. I think he's popular guy. And it's just funny because I was kind of like, I was looking at all these great shots of Brendan Fraser looking great, and I was like,
right.
what a waste. You know?
What a waste.
What a waste of young Brendan Fraser.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, young Brendan Fraser did a lot in the early 90s, so I don't necessarily think that this was totally wasted.
True.
He was everywhere. He was a
I can get that Brendan Fraser material if I need it.
It's out there.
It's out there.
It's out there. Right, so you like Brendan Fraser?
Yeah.
Tick. Nice.
It had one of the good fantasy Seans in it.
Right. Sean Astin from the Volcano movie.
From the Volcano movie, yeah.
That movie with the wizards, and they all really want that piece of jewelry.
Yeah.
I guess, and they go to that place.
I can't carry
and they throw
it for you, Mr. Frodo.
Yeah.
But I can carry you.
Exactly.
Potatoes.
I've still not seen
boil
them.
and mash them, sticking in a stew.
I've still not seen them.
Potatoes. Samwise Gamgee.
Yep.
Good egg. One of the two Lord of the Rings Seans. The other one obviously being Sean Bean.
Sean Bean.
I liked that it was quite simple, I guess. Like, it's quite straightforward.
Yeah.
I suppose there was a bit with some fire that was funny, and the guy goes, flamage! And that was kind of entertaining. Also, the main guy, the caveman, they call him Link, because he's the missing link, which is quite funny.
Linkage.
Also, like, I don't know if you know this, but the main character in Zelda is called Link.
Link, yeah.
Kind of for the same reason.
Yeah.
Because he's like the link to the player, so it made me think about Zelda, which was fun. And those are the things I liked about this film.
Great.
What about you?
That's three things. That's three good things. Here's what I liked about this movie. In the 90s, I was really into Pauly Shore. Like, I thought he was really funny.
Really?
Yeah, I just thought he was really funny. I had a real soft spot for the weasel, right?
Right.
And
kind of an aspirational figure for you, I would assume. Based on my knowledge of what you were like in the 90s.
He was a cool guy with long hair who didn't seem to care what people thought. He was replete with catchphrases, liked to party, and I don't know. He was in a bunch of movies that I really liked. So like all around the same time, Encino Man and Son-in-Law and the one where he was in the army. What was that one called? I think it was called like In the Army Now or something. But my favorite movie that he was in the 90s, and I loved so much, even though it's bad, was the 1996 film Biodome. And don't worry, I'm not going to make you watch that movie.
Okay, thank you.
When I was a younger teenager, really stupid comedies really appealed to me. I don't want to. Don't read into that. I just because I liked them ironically. That's why.
Yeah,
so
sure. Because you're a discerning film critic with refined taste, and you like to,
I was 12. What am I gonna watch? What am I gonna watch? 8mm or whatever, right? Come on. So I don't know. What I liked about this movie was it feels really nostalgic to me because I really liked Pauly Shore movies. I also really liked Brendan Fraser movies from that era. Like, you ever seen Blast from the Past?
Yeah.
Right? That movie's great. And others that I can't remember right now because I'm still just thinking about Pauly Shore. So I like that. And
But did you think he was good in this film? Do you think his acting was good in this film?
Pauly Shore specifically, or any of the characters?
Specifically Pauly Shore. Narrowing down on Pauly Shore. Come on. Was it good acting?
You know that thing?
Was it good acting?
You know that thing that people always say about Hugh Grant, and they're like, he's good, but he just plays Hugh Grant in every movie, right?
Well, you've clearly never seen Paddington 2.
I've seen the first one.
Oh, you haven't seen the second one? The second one is incredible.
No. Bear, they find him at the train station and they're like, I guess you're coming home with us now.
Oh, honestly, Paddington 2 to anyone, seriously, very, very, very good film. I would honestly recommend it.
I'll add it to my watch list. Listen, he's not a great actor. He wasn't a great actor. I don't think he'll ever be a great actor, but he was really good at just being himself, which was, just like a goofy guy.
But I'm good at being myself, You're good at being yourself. Why do you get to be a movie star?
I don't know. Some people just got that thing. Some people got,
Pauly
that
Shore.
finesse. They got the Pauly Shore
Pizzazz.
of it all. The pizzazz.
Yeah,
They got the,
fine.
Okay. So I was really gonna try to win you over and say this movie was great. I just reviewed my notes and I've reflected. I've grown as a person.
U-turn.
No. And I've I've done a little bit of meditation on it. And I've consulted my mentor, and I'll give you that maybe this isn't the best movie that was ever made. It might just be not a very good film.
It's not a very good film.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, I feel like I say this every time we come up against one of these, stinkers. But if you enjoy it, it's really fine. Like, I don't, I hate it when people are like, I think this is terrible, so therefore everyone must say the same, even though that's kind of what I'm currently doing.
It's fine.
If you enjoy it, it's fine. But it's just, I suppose the thing for me is that, like, it annoys me that money and time was spent on making this thing when it's like there was probably good stuff that never saw the light of day. That's what annoys me.
Yeah, no, I get that. And listen, we're a safe space. We're not here to yuck anyone's yum, right? If you will. There will be people out there who will say that this movie was a big deal for them and that, it's the best thing they've ever seen. This is just another movie in the series of films that I remember really liking when I was younger. And upon a modern rewatch, I'm sat with my jaw dropped to the floor, internally saying, why did I like this so much? This movie's not great.
But this will be so much fun when we finally switch and start doing some of the films that I loved as a kid. And you'll be like, whoa, okay. This whole time you were sat there on your high horse like some, fancy film lady. Yeah. But actually, you really like the Scooby-Doo movie. So, I mean, that's a bad example. It's a great film. So
I haven't seen it. By the way, I'm glad you mentioned it because your horse is very high. It's so high, I can barely see you.
Well, I'm very tall, so I needed a super high one, because otherwise my feet would be dragging on the floor.
Yeah, plus it would look weird, if you're tall and you're on a short horse.
Anyway, carry on telling me about your childhood cherished memories of this film that I've just insulted. Yep.
I guess, what the thing I really liked about it when I was a kid was the thought that and this is weird to say, but the thought that, like, if you want to have a swimming pool, you could just dig your own swimming pool. And that's one of my main memories of this movie was, it's that movie where that guy digs his own swimming pool. Yeah. Oh, and also there's a caveman in it. Yeah. I realize that's a minor plot point.
Let's get into that. Me and my brother dug a really big hole in our back garden, and it took us like a summer to do it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure with that intention. And then eventually we had to stop because my dad was like, you might undermine the foundations of the house.
Yeah.
But it's all we did all summer. We just dug a big hole. It was great.
I love that. And you had a purpose, you were just trying to...
like, we got to get up because we got to go hole digging today,
How big was it? Was it a big hole?
I would say it was probably like 4 meters across.
Whoa.
But my house was on a hill as well. So like, I think that was the real issue was like, house fall in the hole.
That's cool. We tried it one time when we were kids. I think we only got to maybe like a groundbreaking ceremony, but we talked a lot about making our own pools. Making your own pool was a big deal. We didn't have a pool when I was a kid, but kids who had pools were at least 10 points cooler just because they literally you know, because they had a pool.
In Britain, I think it must be at least 150 points extra because I'm pretty sure nobody has a pool.
Totally.
Particularly not an outdoor one. Like, it's cold over here, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And I think remember it being a little bit more sensitive to, you know, prehistoric man and was a little more science-y. I acknowledge that there's no science in this movie and it wasn't sensitive to that topic at all. But in my mind, I was like, yeah, because there's like a teacher and he teaches them about Cro-Magnon man, and then that's how they know. And there's something about a bowl, and I think it's an archaeological movie. In the end, it's just like a pretty dumb high school movie with kids who care more about popularity than they do about, you know, reporting an archaeological find in the ground.
As we've potentially established previously on the podcast, sometimes I find it quite hard to pay attention to stuff when I don't really enjoy it very much, and potentially do other things at the same time.
You were on Instagram the whole time while you were watching this movie, weren't you?
Well, you say that with an accusatory tone, but actually what I was doing was I was on Wikipedia looking up the origin of man, and the evolution of different like stages of biology yeah, evolution and stuff. That's kind of
what did you learn? Anything good?
Oh, I learned loads of cool stuff. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Really?
And one of the cool things that I learned was that, I mean, so there's a couple of things that I picked up on, and obviously disclaimer, I'm not a scientist and I don't actually know what I'm talking about. I'm just a person who has access to the internet. But from what I read on the internet...
That makes you credible.
That makes me, yeah, I mean, as credible as anyone else, right? A couple of things that I picked up on. One of them is that it depends what kind of time period he would have come from. I can't remember if they explicitly say, but it's around like is it called the Brea tar pits, or is it the Brea? I've only read it. Is it Brea tar pits?
La Brea
in LA. La Brea, that's it.
La Brea tar pits. Yeah.
La Brea tar pits. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if he comes from the La Brea tar pits, which I think there's like a reference to that, or around that area, if it's California.
Yeah.
Then like it would have been very likely that his sort of brand of person would have had language.
Right.
So he would have had some way of speaking. He doesn't really talk much in the film at all. Like he occasionally sort of grunts and says a few words that he sort of mirrors, but he actually probably would have tried to communicate. That was one of the things that I thought really didn't work about him at all, was that he would have said something, like he would have done something, he would have made noises.
Yeah.
That kind of contributed to what I think was a really critical issue with this film, which was that I just don't think he was very convincing as a caveman at all. He doesn't look like one. He kind of stopped acting like one. And what they did was they made him have a makeover scene. Hashtag makeover scene.
Makeover scene.
That happened really, really quickly into the film. Like it happened almost straight after he appeared. So you kind of forget that he's a caveman. He just seems like a weird guy.
Yeah.
And also he looks like Brendan Fraser, so it's like that's more what you're thinking about, you know?
He plays 90s Brendan Fraser who can't talk.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
And you know, I'm not a scientist, but I feel like it would take longer for someone who was from the prehistoric times
to defrost.
I mean, geez, he just melted and was like, I'm fine, I'm alive. Which I bet that's not possible. But even if it is, right?
Yeah.
It would take a little bit more than like 2 days to get used to this new world that he's in. He's a
100%.
prehistoric man. He's not used to all of the stimuli around him would cause him to lose his mind, right?
And there's a lot of comedy potential in that, certainly. And I think like my main kind of point about this, I suppose, is that like I don't think it's a bad concept.
That's a great concept. Sure.
Yeah, I think it could have worked. I'm sure when they pitched this film, they were like, yeah, amazing, funny, brilliant. But they squandered so much of the potential of that idea by just rushing the film. So like he gets to the house way too quickly. He should have been shown in the wild way more. You should have seen him he should have woken up in the middle of a forest, and you should have seen him in his own environment, slowly realizing that something is wrong. reacting to each of those minute changes as they happen, rather than bang, he's in a house, he's in front of a lorry or whatever. And they should have paced that each of those moments slowly so you could savor them. You know, the makeover should have been a whole thing.
But that's the thing, right? This movie wasn't about what would happen if a caveman woke up in modern times. This movie was what would happen if a caveman who's fine with being in modern times went to high school, right? Yeah. And the worst part about that is the moral of the story, or the conceit of this film was, I guess, cavemen and high school students are the same, and if a caveman was to infiltrate a high school and the kids found out about it like they do in this movie, all the kids would be like, "That's awesome!" And then they'd go to a pool party and nobody would care that this formerly frozen man was with them in Spanish class. This movie wasn't about him. It was about the Frodo guy trying to win over this girl, right?
Yeah.
And that's awful, because this movie was just another high school movie where a guy wants to impress a girl. The only twist was there's also a caveman and Pauly Shore is there.
And the caveman is hot and a potential threat to the main relationship.
Yeah. And we haven't even talked about this, but like the guy who wanted to win over the girl, Sean Astin, right? Dave.
Yeah.
He's the worst.
He is the worst. Not only is he the worst, he's as I always say, incredibly underdeveloped. Like, such a basic character. Ugh.
There's nothing about him. He's just...
He's a nothing. He's just a nothing.
He's a nothing.
Who are you, dude?
Who doesn't actually care about his best friend, Stoney, or Link, or his family, or...
anything.
The girl, right? Or the kitchen, or the house, or his sister, or Robin.
The dog.
Right? Or the dog. He doesn't care about anything other than being cool. And do you know what? He's a bad man.
He is a bad man.
So,
I'm disappointed in you, Samwise Gamgee.
Yeah. Get out of here and go back to the Hobbit town or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Go back to Frodo and tell him you've done a bad thing and that you need to dig the pool again and repent for your sins, if you will.
It's very funny watching something like this in the sense that you can kind of see where I feel like you can kind of see where it started to go wrong, in the sense that they kind of somebody went, I've got this great idea. It's about a caveman. He goes to high school and... you know, it's about how the teenagers are also caveman and they all relate and but it's like a film like that, you need bits, right? You need like comedy bits, and you need the fish out of water thing of this person who's totally unprepared for this situation, and you just didn't get any of that anyway. You just got like weird jokes about Brendan Fraser's like being slightly weird and people kind of accepting it and just being like, oh, okay. Like he goes up to a woman and sort of grabs her and she's like, ooh.
Yeah.
It's like, huh? What?
It's fine because he's a caveman, right? You just assaulted that woman.
Another thing that is very easy to get wrong with films is that you have to have these logical steps in place in order to make what's the central drama work, right? You have to have things going on saying, okay, so then in order for them to get here, these three things have to happen or whatever. And they just sort of totally skated over all of this stuff. Like, they show him going to the high school and going to the like receptionist or whatever.
Sure.
And she's like, who's this guy then? And then the scene just ends. And the next scene, he's in the high school.
He's in high school.
How did you get him into the school?
Well, don't you remember later we find out that they submitted inexplicably a dog license? The license for the dog?
But surely schools
that's
have
a dog
more
license.
thorough processes than just this guy is like,
right?
huh? Oh my God.
They just looked at him and went, yeah, you look like a high school kid. It's fine. Although, I mean, listen, I don't want to be that guy, but it was the 90s. So, things were easier in the early 90s.
Yeah.
So here's something that I realized kind of tickled me a little bit, but also made me think maybe I understand this movie more, which is this movie's a time travel movie. Okay? Okay? And it reminded me a lot of an animated series that you may have watched, which is, of course, Futurama.
Yes.
Okay? So try this on for size.
Oh.
Fry, right, the character Philip J. Fry, accidentally gets frozen in his modern time and wakes up 1,000 years later. So he's a man, he's a caveman effectively, but of our time, 1,000 years later, fish out of water. And that show is about, someone from 1,000 years ago adapting to being in a new time. Done, much better in my opinion than the movie Encino Man. But I remembered why I was thinking about Futurama, which makes it even more exciting, is if you know that show well enough, you might know that there's an episode wherein Pauly Shore plays himself being thawed out 1,000 years later so that he can go to the 1,000-year premiere of the movie Encino Man.
Oh my God.
They also go visit the La Brea tar pits in that episode as well. Fact. But so what do you think about my theory that maybe they based Futurama on this movie? It's the same movie.
I think that it works in terms of logic as a way of justifying time travel, but it's also can be quite useful because obviously in Futurama what they are able to do is bring back characters from now and have them in the future. So it works that way as well. So it definitely is. If you can set up a mechanic like that in your story, you have endless potential to bring back people from the past, and it's fine.
Yeah, and I guess by that logic, the flaw to this movie was there weren't any famous cavemen, right? So we couldn't bring back any other.
Not famous for us. I mean, I'm sure.
Right. What they should have done is another caveman, a famous comedian caveman unfreezes, and then Link is like, oh my God, is that Ugg? Huh?
Oh, I'm such a big fan. So here's what I want to see. Okay, here's what I want to hear, rather. Forgot this is an auditory medium.
Right. They can't see us. Nobody can see us.
Nobody can see us. You can't see me. Or can you? Ugh. I can't. So you're what? I guess let's say 11 years old, right? You've just watched this film on a VHS player, and you're going, "Oh wow, that was great! What a good movie!" You step outside, it starts snowing, you fall into a swimming pool, and you freeze. Whoa. Okay, and it's now 2021. You've just unfrozen, and I come up to you and I say, "Hey, what do you think of that film Encino Man?" What do you say? Go.
I'd probably say, hey, come on, just chill, Emma. Just wheezing on my grindage, buddy.
Buddy.
I'd probably be like, that movie rules.
Who the hell are you?
Second question, who are you? Where am I? Right?
Is everybody in the future British? Hey, Anders.
Hey.
How's it going?
Super good, as always.
I have a question for you. When was the last time you rated a podcast?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I've never done it. Is it hard?
No, it's super easy. You should totally give it a go. In fact, why not do it right now? Just head on over to Apple Podcasts and give us a rating. Because it's super easy and super fun. Well, it's not. I don't know if it's fun. It's if you could, that would be great. Thanks.
I'm doing it right now.
Whoa!
Hey, leaving reviews is the most fun thing ever.
See,
forget roller coasters. Review our podcast. This future's so weird. There's very few people on the streets, and everyone's wearing masks, and everybody's so.
What happened?
Hey, hey, is it illegal to hug around here, guys?
Yeah.
You know, come on in. Come
like
on here.
Footloose, but
right?
instead of dancing, it's hugging.
Right. Nice to meet you. Handshake? No handshake? Nothing? No? That's weird. We're in Europe, right? Kiss on the cheek? Kiss on the cheek? No? I had half a sandwich. I can't finish it. Do you want a bite? And other jokes about the now times.
Ugh.
But we digress. I think it might be time that we try to twist this movie. You want to twist it?
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess so. I suppose.
So.
We may as well do the conceit of the podcast, I suppose, if you'd like.
I guess we can do the thing if you want me to do the thing.
All right, I mean, only if you want to.
That's my monster thing voice.
I don't like your don't like your monster voice. It always scares me every time. If
that's the voice I'm gonna wake you up with. Hey, you little kid, what do you think of the movie Encino Man?
I don't know why I'm so scared, monster voice. Why? I only wanted to play in the snow.
What did you think of Brendan Fraser's performance in the movie Encino Man?
I thought it was good. He's a good actor. I liked him in that other movie, Biodome. No, wait, that's Pauly Shore. I liked him in that other movie, Blast from the Past.
Yeah, I thought he was good in The Mummy.
He was also in The Mummy. He played the mummy guy, but not the mummy. So there are... Oh, he was also George of the Jungle. Watch out for that tree. He also played another, primitive man. Why does he keep getting cast typed as a primitive man? Yeah. Right? He's a regular guy. He's Brendan Fraser.
He was also George of the Jungle. Watch out for that tree. It's one of my favorite things you've ever said.
It's part of the song. It's what happens.
I know. Watch out for that tree. One of the issues, as I kind of mentioned, was that this movie was very rushed.
Yeah.
And it was rushed in the sense that the transition for Link from kind of full-on recognizable caveman to just a guy who was a bit weird was really, really quick. And he then stayed as that weird guy for most of the movie, and then just stuff happened around him, right? The transition needs to be a lot slower, and I think one of the ways that could be achieved is by essentially just making him, as I suggested, exist somewhere else first. So I would say if you had the transition up to him being melted, and he runs off, instead of going to the house, he goes to the woods or some kind of literally a cave nearby. Let's say they live near a cave complex. He goes to the cave, and he's like, this is fine. This is my house. Maybe it's even the same cave he
why not
lived in before. Why not? Or a similar one, I guess. I don't know how rock formations work over that many years, but still, it's a similar one. So he thinks he's in the same place, and what maybe can happen then is that the kids who discovered him deal with the implications of the fact that they dug up this guy, he melted, and they don't know where he is for a bit longer.
Yeah.
And that gives us space to develop their story. And then it means that what can happen is he can then go out into the world without them, and we can see him being a caveman in the world and doing stuff, and maybe turning up at the school, or they see him in the supermarket. And they have to kind of try and track him down and find a way to rein him in, because they'll get discovered if he gets discovered, but without it being they're together all the time and they give him a makeover after 5 minutes, if you see what I mean.
So he, I don't know, over a little bit of time, he maybe steals some clothes off of a clothesline and washes himself up, and tries to make himself look like a modern man, a kid or whatever. And maybe the school is still incompetent as it was in this film, and maybe the school bus driver sees him at the bus stop and goes, "You getting on the bus? Come on, we're gonna be late for school," or something like that, where he ends up at school because he inadvertently, and people think he's a high school student, and that's
yeah,
where
you could have something quite simple as like another student is supposed to, and then he breaks his leg or something, and they forget to tell him, and then he thinks he gets mistaken for this guy.
Exactly.
Throw in there,
whatever happens, he ends up at school. Everyone's saying, "Oh, this is the new kid, right? This is the new kid Link. You transferred in," and he's sort of going along with it, but at the same time, he knows he's not supposed to be there, and then he gets seen by the kids who discovered him. And I don't know. Do you remember that in the regular movie, their science teacher is
the regular movie
the normal version in version 1 of this movie?
Yeah,
their science teacher is like he knows about cavemen and stuff.
Oh no, yes, the science teacher starts to cotton on to the fact that he's the caveman.
Yes, that's good. Okay, all right.
So
right. Yes.
So he'll say something in the lesson, and he'll be like, "Oh, when they had they would use this as a basic kind of tool," and then he looks over and the guy's done that with his pencils or something,
Exactly.
He's like, wait a minute.
At one point he does see Link heating up a frog on the Bunsen burner and eating it, and he goes, yeah, that's something.
That's a caveman thing.
That's a caveman thing. And maybe he goes into the janitor's closet and does a bunch of cave paintings and drawings or whatever.
Yeah.
Not because he wants to. He's already pretty evolved to modern day because he's a smart guy. But there's something inside him that's like, I need to document this somehow, right?
Yeah.
This crazy experience that I'm having. And so he does caveman drawings on the wall at the school, and then they find out that he's a caveman.
Yeah. I think the final element that I want to bring to this is that I think it would be really good if there was some caveman benefits that this character could bring to the world, if you know what I mean, because that's usually what you get in the fish out of water story. That you get the person who is the oddball goes, yeah, but in my place we do this or whatever.
I'm good at this.
You see him. He brings some of his wisdom and his raw humanity to this world which is so pent up and worried about status and things that don't really matter,
No, I'm into it. I mean, I don't know exactly what are the caveman benefits.
I don't know.
He's probably good at hunting.
Yeah, or even just stuff he's much more straight. He'll probably be much more straightforward because he doesn't have any modern anxieties,
Yeah.
He's like, why are you so stressed about passing your finals? You should be happy to be alive.
Exactly. In my time, life is pain.
Yes, nobody really lived past 40, so that was kind of bad.
Do you even know what saber-toothed tiger is?
If you've seen the woolly mammoth, those tusks are huge.
You're worried about the prom. Have you ever seen a volcano? That stuff's real, man.
Yeah. You guys, you don't know about real stuff like infectious diseases that weren't you were susceptible to because of lack of penicillin or whatever.
Oh, you're worried that you can't have the coolest trainers? Tell me more about that whilst I remember not having a blanket to live in the winter.
You're obsessed with trainers? Oh, it must be nice having shoes.
Oh, only basic cable? All I had to look at was a fire. I was a caveman. What's wrong with you kids? Right?
Kids these days, they don't appreciate what they've got, such as shelter.
So he becomes a stand-up comedian, right? That's what happens. Hey, what's up with kids today? Am I right?
I heard about this new music. It's called rock and roll. Well.
All I had was rocks.
That was the entertainment back in my day. You roll a rock along the floor.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
He could end up like a TV personality.
Yes.
Couldn't he?
Yes.
Right? Somebody discovers him and they're like, who's this amazing caveman with all this wisdom? And he ends up with he writes a book and people follow his way of living. People have a paleo diet, right?
Yes.
It's the same thing. It's a paleo lifestyle, and everybody wants to regress to being a caveman where there were no worries and no problems and no flipping, stocks or whatever.
I'm telling you, that would be so amazing. He goes from being confused and, living in a cave to being this voice of reason. He could be the new Oprah, right?
Yeah.
Right. But he's like caveman Oprah.
Yes. Nailed it. Yes.
And it's just him, maybe in a suit, but probably in something more relaxed, doing that thing where you rub a piece of wood to another piece of wood to make a
It's
fire.
it's like the Tonight Show, and he's like showing Jimmy Fallon how to create fire. Yeah.
He's a caveman talk show host.
And everyone starts like picking up his religion and starts wearing like caveman clothes.
Yes.
You know?
The way of the caveman, because he's he's got it all together.
Paleo life.
Exactly. He eats well. He's obviously, he's Brendan Fraser, let's be honest. So he's ripped,
doing okay.
right?
Yeah.
And beautiful, and he just spouts all this caveman wisdom, and people just eat it up, right? People will write into him and be like, "Dear Link, I'm having a real hard time balancing work and family life, and I don't know where I'll make ends meet, and just modern life is really it's just causing me anxiety." And Link will just go, "You worry too much. You need to live in the caves. You need to
come to the caves.
Simplify. Also, can I recommend echinacea?"
Come to the caves. Only $299 for 1 week. You can stay in my cave complex, live like caveman. All of your worries will melt away when you are worried about threats of saber-toothed tiger.
Wear this fur and feel better. Also, you and your partner need to communicate more. There's no I in us. Am I right, girlfriend?
You should be grateful for the sunset and the beauty of the natural world. Also, would you talk to your friends the way you talk to yourself?
That's a deal breaker. Anyway,
I think we've done that.
I think we've done that. We've done it. We can go ahead and seal up the cave and keep it pristine.
Lock him away.
For future archaeologists to discover. There's only one more thing that we need to do, Emma, and that is we need to rate this movie.
Yes.
I would love to know, on a scale of 1 to 5, glasses of juice, buddy, what would you rate the 1992 film Encino Man?
Wow. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
I'm going to give it a 0.
A 0?
Yeah.
That's unprecedented.
I'm just
right.
in that mood today. No, that's what I'm sticking
fine.
by it. I'm doing it.
Damn.
Even the Christmas one was better than this. And I hated that.
Yeah.
I'm giving it nothing. Is that bad? Am I bad? Should I feel bad?
No, not at all. This movie was trash. It's not a good movie. It's fine to not give it any score. Right?
Oh, I feel so naughty.
Yeah.
Ooh.
This is the lowest score you've ever given, and you are being naughty, and that's fine. I mean, it is a scale of 1 to 5, and you've subverted the scale, give it a 0. But I
broke the scale.
But I applaud it. And I'm fine with it. 0.
Okay. Whew. I feel enlivened. This is the caveman lifestyle. What are you gonna do?
Well, I'll give it a little bit of a more positive score, but not much. I'm going to give this film a 2. Okay? And I'll give it 2 because I still think the concept is interesting. And I really liked it as a kid, and I was disappointed with it now, but I feel like I owe it something, so I'm going to give it 2 glasses of juice.
That's fair. That balances out, I think, both of our reactions.
Oh, hey, Emma, I think we need to wrap up the podcast. I just heard a knock at the door. I'm pretty sure it's my Amazon delivery.
Oh, what did you get?
Oh, I ordered a giant freezer.
Oh, okay. What do you need that for?
Well, I figured I'd take a page out of Link's book and freeze myself and see if in 100 years things look a little bit better than they do today.
Let's hope so.
Before I freeze myself, I just wanted to say thanks for listening to this episode of Plot Twisters.
Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, buddy. I'll be fine. The cold doesn't bother me anyway. It actually super does bother me. I hate the cold.